Hey everyone, welcome back to a recap edition of our results recap edition of AGT Time. Cody Patterson here along with
Minnesota Ryan back. Little bit upset, but that is all right. I'm excited to be here talking some AGT.
yeah, thanks for joining me tonight, Minnesota Ryan. So again, we're back for our kind of results recap and just what we thought of the results and what we thought of the performances. This is not a full recap of the episodes. It's just our quick thoughts, quick reactions. It's again only probably about 30 minutes. Jay and I will be back at our normal time Thursday night to do a full recap of everything that happened during the performances and during the results. So, Minnesota Ryan, I'm just going to kind of get to it. We got the top two that we expected tonight, right?
Well, the top two that you all expected. I'm not surprised by the result, but one completely agree with. The other, I would love to talk a little bit more in depth about if we get the chance here.
Absolutely. So, just to let everyone know, we have Aaron Belial and Murmuration going through to the finals. Kiyomi and the Atlanta Drum Academy was in the top three. I was getting a little anxious there during the top three, Ryan.
Yeah, it was intriguing and a fun concept to talk about. Is that's our first golden buzzer that is not moving on this season, so it definitely was intriguing to see kind of how it ended up and what was going to kind of break through tonight.
Yeah, I had the Atlanta Drum Academy second to last in my rankings. I didn't feel it was a good performance. The only one I had below them was Erica Kofelt. I just didn't feel like it was a good performance. They talked about in their opening package that if one drum is off, they're all off, and I felt throughout their whole performance the drums were off. It was not a good performance, and I felt being in the top five, or at least the top three, was a big shock for me personally.
Yeah, I had them. So I wasn't a huge fan of their audition. So to me,
Yeah.
I actually did feel like their live performance was a little bit of a step up for them, just because I could kind of see what their show was a little bit. I still didn't have them very high ranked. I had them fifth. I expected them to be in that top five, but top three was a little bit of maybe a reach for at least for me and my perception tonight. But it mostly was because of what I believed was a down night overall. I didn't believe there was a whole lot that really competed with them and their golden buzzer bump that they got.
Yeah, the consensus is you have kind of two or three at the very top, and then it's like a big gap for the rest of the acts for the night. Do you agree with that or not?
At least, yeah, these first two shows have definitely felt like that. It's almost felt like their weaker golden buzzers have had kind of easier nights, and it seems like you just look at what we have next week. And it's going to be a totally different set. We have a lot of very talented acts coming in, and it's going to be intriguing to see what acts kind of make it through in comparison to the acts that are going to leave next week. So it did feel like at least these first 2 weeks have not been like loaded with the top tier talent of the season, besides maybe again Murmuration and some of these kind of golden buzzer top level acts.
Yeah, now it's a kind of, at least what I'm experiencing is it's a different kind of anxiety in that we're getting acts in the top five that I don't feel should be there. The other
Correct.
two were Ryland and Alfie, both on my team. so, so and then they get eliminated. But I was surprised to get my bottom half of my team making in the top five, which I'm cool with. I get points, but not really what I expected. But then we're going to get some different anxiety maybe next week where there's going to be some great acts that are not going to get to move on, and we experienced that last season with Don McMillan. And so we're going to get it again next week. So you said you wanted to talk about something. What was it you wanted to talk about?
Yes, so I know I am the odd man out with Aaron Belial here, and I want to kind of come clean and make it set for me about what I've kind of thought of him the entire season. I actually rated him in the back 20 of my overall rankings. I have been relatively low on him from the start for me, and I know that's wrong now, obviously looking at where he has ended up, but to me, felt like if a comedian that should go to the finals, to me, should make me laugh out loud. And he has been the only comedian I've watched and maybe just chuckled on the side, but never actually laughed out loud for me. So it's been a little bit harder. And maybe it's just because he uses the voice modulator kind of translator thing. It's hard for me to kind of get in tune with his humor. But I watch him and I think immediately of Josh Blue. And I like Josh Blue a lot more And so
Sure.
to me, maybe that's hurt my perception of him a little bit. And I know it's unfair to him because he's a totally different act. And I love Aaron. I love what he's doing for people with cerebral palsy. I love the kind of support that he's giving to that. I just feel like we're judging on the comedy, and I haven't been blown away by it. But I do like him a lot. But
Yeah.
to me, I thought the dog was the best part of his act last night.
Yeah, the dog.
And
The
I know
dog was
that's
really,
just my opinion.
yeah. No, the dog was really good. The dog was really good. So, have you watched any Lost Voice Guy from BGT?
I've heard of it, but I don't think I've actually watched it.
Yeah. So go find some videos of Lost Voice Guy. He won
Okay.
BGT a few years ago. It's a very similar act. He kind of introduced this style of someone that uses a voice modulator or a some sort of device in order to speak for them. So go watch some of his videos. Your Lost Voice Guy is better.
Okay.
Aaron is good. Lost Voice Guy is better because he kind of
Okay.
set this and he's also kind of perfected. He's been doing it a little bit longer. So go check out some of that. It might give
Will
you a
do.
different perspective on Aaron a little bit. So
Okay. I will do that because I really want to like him, and I've been every time he's performed, I've been waiting for that one joke to get me, but I haven't had it yet. But maybe that's what I need is some more context. a
yeah,
little bit.
sure. So kind of some other things that came out. We got some weird shenanigans during this episode. The name that toot, which I'm all for the games that they play. I felt this one was kind of dumb.
So this might have been the strangest moment of AGT for me in a long time. So first of all, the weird premise of their game was already there. But then
Yeah.
for me, I was hoping that 3G might be able to go through tonight. So they put
Yeah.
this right in the center of where I'm like, uh-oh, I got to wait and now listen to this to know when my act's going to be possibly put through. So I just was sitting there the whole time a little bit frustrated of like, why am I watching this right now instead of just getting the result and then going to this where then I can kind of tune out for a little bit. But it was enjoyable, but like I don't know if it was a need for me to watch tonight.
Yeah. I did like that they kind of brought back the hand farter because I enjoyed him during his audition. So then for him to come back and then do this little name that tune video game with Sophia and Heidi. I like him. I didn't like the concept of the game, but anyway, that's something I tune out. We got Shin Lim coming back, which
Yes.
I've gone on record to say he's not one of my favorites. That's just me personally. I'm not going to yuck anyone else's yum if they enjoy him, but I kind of make fun at it, like hey, I'm gonna go do something else, or why do I got to watch? So, but anyway, you get Shin Lim. I know a lot of people enjoy it, and that's great.
Yeah, I know. For me, I am a big Shin Lim fan. It's one of the few things, so I'm more on commenter's boat over here. But I think one component of watching Shin Lim tonight is it made the Ryland moving to the top 5 even more kind of
Okay.
wrong to me. Because
Yeah.
I'm sitting here watching Shin Lim, and you're like, okay, that would make sense if that's going to be moving to the top 5
Sure.
or winning the show. But then it was like, okay, but we saw maybe a fourth of that with Ryland, and now here he's sitting in the top 5. And that's almost what I felt like to me, is it almost diminished Ryland's act and made it even weirder that he was in the top 5 by watching Shin Lim.
Yeah. So kind of going through some of the pairings here. So we talked about who's in the top 5 and top 3 and who's going on. But kind of the pairings where we had the Drum Academy versus Danny Carr.
Yeah, easy
What were your-
easy matchup for me. I mean, I was sitting here looking at the TV going like, I know Country moved through last time, but between those two, I personally felt that the Drum Academy had get the golden buzzer. I thought they had a better performance on the night. I am really hard on Country, so I just felt that this was a pretty easy choice between those two.
Sure. And then we had Alfie versus the Sharp Family Singers. I'm a big stan of the Sharp Family Singers. So
Yes, it hurt, but I was sitting there going like, it's got to be Alfie based on last night. I couldn't imagine that a act that was buzzed and honestly what I thought was one of the meanest moments I've seen on AGT between judges to an act that wasn't bad. I just didn't expect them to be able to recover from that. And Alfie did a wonderful job. He's a kid singer. They get a lot of love, and he's very likable. And it made sense. It hurt, but I thought Alfie was going to be the choice between those two.
yeah. We had Aaron Belial versus Andrew Stanton. This one was a little surprising.
So for me, it wasn't, but talent-wise, I thought they were pretty equal. But
Yeah.
Danger Acts don't do super well when it comes to live shows. So I thought, as awesome as Andrew Stanton is, and as much as it's really cool to see his act on here, I just didn't picture America being like looking at him and going, "You're as likable as Aaron Belial is." On top of the fact, as a medical professional, I just do not want kids or families to do anything that he's doing. So part of me is like, okay, once is enough. Let's let the comedy guy go through and let's kids see that.
Yeah, so you're not big into the danger acts, well, particularly this type of danger act.
Yes, most of the danger acts I'm usually not a giant fan of, but it's particularly the ones that I believe are easy to replicate. So if I see a sword, I put a sword down my mouth, that I could see that being very replicable. But if it's something that's so like dangerous but nobody would ever try it kind of thing, then I'm maybe more in tune with seeing them do that.
Yeah. Then we get, like you said earlier, 3G versus Ryland.
Oh, this is probably the one that I believe was the first time I felt it was wrong between two. I'm not saying 3G should have been in the top 5, but just between those two, you have a decent kid magician who doesn't have, in my opinion, a whole lot of stage presence. And then you have 3G, who I thought was a redemption story from Ukraine, put on a great performance. I was a huge fan of the Bella Sisters a couple years back, so I felt that same feeling for them, and the Bella Sisters were a finalist. So I was hoping that we would get it that way, but maybe their audition really just hurt them that much, and they never really had a shot.
Yeah, Ryland's performance kind of felt disjointed. I think he had two different tricks that he did, and neither one of them felt
they didn't
cohesive.
mesh.
No, they didn't mesh at all.
Yeah. And on top of them not meshing, there was that point of like, okay, even if he did this magic with having the crowd randomly select it, we didn't see that happen. So it was this moment of like, even if it is true, it's hard for us to 100% get on board because we didn't see that component. So maybe he did just switch all the boards and make it work the way he wanted.
Yeah, it's someone that's like, okay, I want all of this to kind of be cohesive. I want to see a good flow. He does the crowd thing. He does his Lego thing. And then he comes back to it. And it's like, well, what happened there? Why did we not see the transition between I really thought there was going to be like a tie-in between the helicopter and the carts.
Same. Exactly. I thought the picture was going to be the helicopter.
Yes, that's exactly what I thought. Yes.
So, I mean...
Yeah. I actually thought he's a likable kid. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I honestly, I thought the best part of his act for me was when his dad stood up and looked like he had just won the whole show. I'm like, okay, that I can get on board with. But yes, the act itself was me. I would have forgot this act next week, personally.
Yes. This pairing I would have been okay with, and I tweeted this, if it was a neither of you. And I think we need a neither of you.
I do agree. I will say one of my biggest problems with this night, which is totally random, is that Murmuration was always the second act chosen every single time, even though they were the clear choice to go through in every single one. It took so much of the suspense out for me of every single voting competition, whereas if they had done a neither of you there, it might have made that last pick more fun. Yes. Because like, hey, we have Steel Panther and we have Murmuration. It's like, okay, now it's like, okay, which one? But by having them be last, you just knew that the last two were not going to make it, and it was going to be Murmuration going through.
Yeah, I talked about this with Jay on the podcast last week, that they need to put a neither of you in, and then in the last, if it's going to be 3 of them, then they need to have, okay, this act is going through, and then pare it down to 2, and then you say either one of them's going through and one of them's going home. And that's the way they should do it. And I think that add more suspense to it.
I totally agree with that. And even though I don't necessarily think it should have been either of you with 3G, because I thought they were one of the top 5 acts of the night, I do agree with that concept of just bring some suspense back into it. Instead of putting in toot competitions, let's bring the suspense back into the kind of the eliminations here. It was a miss for me on that component.
Yeah. And then, like you said, in our last group, we had Murmuration, Eric Kofeld, and Steel Panther, and we knew one of them was going home, right? Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
It was almost a given.
Guaranteed.
So we knew Erica was going to go home, but then when Murmuration and Steel Panther got up, I'm like, well, I was getting a little nervous, but I knew it was going to give in. I knew it was pretty much Murmuration was going to go through.
It's clear bet. I will say though, Steel Panther did really well in terms of like Instagram, in terms of some of the like watching. I thought they were going to be in the top 5. They were my one act of my 4 that I thought that did not make the top 5. because I thought they had enough likability and memorability to be up there. But that was a little bit of a surprise to me that they weren't even in the top 5 of that group.
Do you happen to have your board handy of where they were in socials?
Ooh, I don't have my viral board handy, but I know
board,
that I remember that Steel Panther was like 20 for both. So they were like in the middle of the pack for both. And the only thing with them, they're super cool. They're an awesome band, but part of me thinks America knows that they're kind of past their prime. And I wonder if that hurt them in their voting of like, hey, this isn't a new rock band that's out of nowhere. This is one who's already done it. And that might be why they didn't make it farther than they did.
Yeah, it's interesting because with a band like this, they've been around for a while, but, a Gen Xer like me, I enjoy this type of music. So I grew up on this type of music, and it's nice for me. I'm having fun going back and kind of reliving some of this. And so I know they don't have, like, the cleanest lyrics. I haven't gone and actually listened to their, the real stuff, but I'm enjoying what they're doing on the show. And to be honest, the lyrics haven't really had an impact with me. I've more enjoyed like just the guitars and the drums and him singing, but I'm not paying attention to the lyrics anytime they're singing. But I'm just enjoying having them on the show and on the stage.
Correct.
So.
I will say, of the 3 guitar acts, I did think they were the best of the 3, including True Villains, John Wines, and Steel Panther. I thought it was the most comfortable performance for any of those rock band groups up there. So if anyone had a shot, I thought it was them to be able to kind of move on.
Yeah. Do you have anything specifically that you kind of want to talk about, either from performances or from the results?
We kind of hit a lot of the big ones. The concept that I said this on Twitter and or X when we were kind of going through tonight, but I've been talking with my mom a lot about how this format. I'm not. I know you guys aren't either, but like I'm not a giant fan of this format at all.
Right.
And I was a little worried when they increased the amount of golden buzzers, and then again only have 2 acts going through, that the golden buzzer would just become your ticket to the finals, and almost America's vote wouldn't matter anymore. And so tonight, I remember sitting there going like, well, I don't agree necessarily that Aaron Bilal should be the second person in my own personal opinion. I was also kind of rooting for him because I didn't just want only the golden buzzer acts to go through every single time, because then to me I feel like my vote doesn't really matter. It's just the judges' golden buzzer that will kind of make up most of our finals. So that was a concept I guess I want to talk to you about your opinion on that.
Yeah.
But I know it's something I'm worried about for the show's future is if they keep increasing these golden buzzer counts, it's going to start hurting overall votes for fans.
Yeah, and we've talked that the number of golden buzzers hasn't really changed between the old format and this. Because with the old format, even during judge cuts, the guest judge would also get one. So that'd be another like three or 4. I don't remember how many judge cuts we had, but there'd be an additional 3 or 4 golden buzzers. So it came out to about the same number. The difference was we had an extra round in there.
Yes.
And so we'd have quarterfinals and then semifinals. And I'd have to go back and do a little research. I don't really have this handy at all of how many golden buzzer acts were eliminated in the quarterfinals. And so it's kind of coming to the same thing where if you get a lot of these, but if they're not very good, and in my opinion, like Atlanta Drum Academy and our other one, I don't really have them handy, but they're the 2 of them I didn't think were good golden buzzers. I'm hoping America kind of picks up on that and notices some of the other great talent that we have.
Yes. Yeah. And that is, and you know, I love golden buzzer. I became an AGT fan because of golden buzzers. So I'm like, it hurts for me to say that, but maybe that's also because why it means something to me is that I value that golden buzzer to be on an act that is deserving of that golden buzzer. And I do believe 5 of our 7 golden buzzers this year were deserving. The only 2 for me personally was Atlanta Drum Academy and then Lavender. And I love that Lavender got it. I love that she got it for her and for her story and to give her confidence. Like, I absolutely love that. But in terms of talent at the singing level on this show, I didn't have her up in that top tier, especially compared to Putri or, you know, my Gabriel. Like, it wasn't a close comparison for me personally. But and you bring up a great point. I didn't watch when there were judge cuts. So I became a fan following judge cut time. So I'm not used to that whole period of time. I've only been kind of a new age AGT watcher and living with this new format, which I'm not a giant fan of.
Yeah. When did you start?
Ooh, I'm trying to think. My first winner, oh gosh. Let's see. I did Brandon Leake's season. I did Dustin Tavella's season. I did Maya's season.
So you've only really known since COVID.
Exactly. And I'm trying to think, who was the winner before Brandon Leake?
I'd have to go
If you
back.
can remember.
Yeah, I'd have to go back. I don't have all the memory. I'm not as good
No
as
worries.
commenter. I can pull it up real quick though. So that'd been 14. Let's see, finals. Um, Cody Lee. Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Cody Lee.
so I started
So,
with
yeah.
Brandon Leake. Yeah,
Yeah.
I heard of Cody Lee, but
Yeah.
my first true full season watching was Brandon Leake's season. So that's my perception of AGT, and obviously I've gone back and rewatched a lot thanks to the rewatchable series and all that stuff. So, but yeah, it's definitely a different perception than the old times for me.
Yeah, I'd say go back and like check out those seasons, but it's kind of difficult this day and age, and so it's maybe we can find a way to kind of get you to experience that, and so you can get a better understanding of how that format went.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Is there anything else that I have to say? Oh, there's one thing I wanted to say. So
Okay.
I wanted to speak a little bit of murmuration right now, and
Sure.
I know they're not my team. I would have drafted them with my pick if they were available to me. So I absolutely love this group. That their
Yes.
performance last night might have been one of my favorite performances ever on AGT history for me. And I know it's not a long history, but like that was an absolutely incredible performance. And one of the few times I've watched a show and went like they might be the winner right now. And I think Putri's incredible, and she can still obviously come out next week and remind us of who she is. But they remind me a lot of the Mayas last season when they just took the show and ran with it. So I will say that they might have jumped to my number one act this season, which they didn't start that way. I had Putri number one, but I just think that act last night was absolutely incredible, and I'm excited to see what they do next.
Yeah, they are incredible. My only weird opinion on this is I don't think we need the guy. Like the guy seems kind of pointless. And a lot of times, because I'm not even watching him. This time they had him in the back. He was behind them and a little higher, but I'm focusing on them. Their hand movement is what's mesmerizing. I don't even know what the other guy is doing. So he could not be on the stage, and I wouldn't even notice the difference.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that because you brought it up a lot on some recent episodes. And while I don't think he's necessarily necessary, there is a component to him when he's out there. A lot of times his action is like conducting. And part of me wonders if they want him out there to make it feel like it's fluid. Because it looks like he's moving the crowd, almost like water. Like he's moving and like almost bending water around him. And part of me wonders if just by our brain, we look at that and think it feels more fluid just because he's there looking like he's moving it. And that was my only thing I thought of, like, okay, that's what I feel like he might be adding to the performance, is making us feel like he's like moving these pieces around. But really the act, it's the 65 people that are blindfolded moving their arms. So
it's incredible. It's incredible what they're doing. I think that's all. So to kind of cap things off, then we got to talk about where we are in our standings.
Correct. I don't want to hear it though. Part of me doesn't want to hear where we're at in our standings.
No, I don't get. Yeah, well, you'll have your moment. There's 5 weeks. Every one of us will get our moment, which is fine. So right now Jay is pulled ahead. He's pulling further ahead. He's got 10 points. Commenter's second with 6. Steven stepped up into third, so he had a good night with 3. And then I got somehow 2 points out of Ryland and Alfie. Don't know how I got that, but I'll take it. And then you got your 1 point.
With my 1 point given to me by my mom because she wanted me to take the cube dance. It has not been a good season for me, but we are very excited for Gabriel coming, which I heard. I follow him on Instagram. He'll be on the last qualifier.
Okay.
So that's good for me to hear that he's not like that fourth one. I'm hoping that him and the Ramadani brothers are separate nights.
Yeah.
I do not want them to be in the same night. Otherwise, my season might already be over. Because
Sure.
I'm a little bit worried for Summer, who I had high hopes for Summer Rios this upcoming season, or this one, and now she's with a night with Putri, with the choir. Like, it's not looking great so far.
Yeah.
But I will say we're all probably a little bit lucky that Steel Panther did not make it through, or Jay might have already won our whole season.
I know. You got 0 from John Wines, the Sharp Friendly Singers, and 3G.
I know. I gotta stop getting buzzed during nights, or commenters gonna keep teeing off on me on Twitter here.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you don't show up for the live shows.
It has been hard.
Yeah.
I did want to say before I kind of pop off here that I give you all credit. This draft thing is so much harder than I thought it was going to be. I thought I loved my picks when I picked them. I thought I
Yeah.
was being so smart, and it's boy, it really hasn't been that easy for me. And I'll have some adjustments. If I'm invited back next season, I will adjust and I will
Yeah.
be much better. But I just wanted to give you all credit for making it look
Thanks.
so much easier than it actually is being here.
It's never easy, but it's just a lot of fun. And I talked about this with
Absolutely.
Jay that, I will pick acts that I like, but I will also watch, and if acts go through that I like that aren't on my team, I will root for them. What they're doing is way more important than what I'm doing.
Correct.
I'm just picking some acts. I'm just having stupid fun picking acts, and if I don't win, I don't win. If they don't win, it's a much bigger deal. Or actually, if they
Yeah,
do
absolutely.
win, it's a much bigger deal than if I win. I only get bragging rights and a stupid trophy on my Twitter profile, which is what commenter brags about
Yeah,
all
I
the
don't
time.
think commenter thinks it's stupid though.
Yeah, but but it's fun, and I enjoy it, and I like the camaraderie and the competition of
Absolutely.
having it. And we've commenter and I've talked. It's much better with five. We've done it where you start out with the three of us, then we went to Steven, and then we added you, and it's much more fun with more people. So I've really enjoyed doing it. I don't know if the listeners enjoy it. I've listened to other podcasts where they do drafts and then people message in and say, "Will you quit talking about your draft picks?" No one messages us. No one tells us anything. So I just continue doing it, and I have fun doing it. I don't really care. So, and if you don't want to listen to it, that's fine. But I'm gonna have fun doing this. Don't yuck my yum. If you don't want to listen to it, that's fine. Uh, so yeah, that's kind of my. I'm gonna grab my soapbox and pull it off to the side here. Get rid of it. But
No,
okay.
it has been incredibly wonderful to. I feel like this draft has like pulled me into the AGT community in a
Yes.
way,
Yeah.
and I feel so much more invested every single night they perform than I've ever been in the past. Just because I
Yeah.
have, there feels like there is some stake in it for me. But you're right, it is so much more about the action than not. But to me, I just have felt so connected to the AGT world, to the people going on Twitter and being able to talk about these acts and have opinions.
Yep.
It has made it so much more fun.
It
So
is.
I
Yeah.
want to deeply thank you for inviting me into this. It's
You're
been
welcome.
awesome. My mom's talking to me like every single week now about the act, so it's been great. So it's really been a wonderful experience.
Well, we better see Minnesota Mom on Twitter pretty soon.
I don't know. I got to win. That was the deal. I got to
That's
win.
Okay. Anything else you got, Minnesota Ryan?
Nothing on my end. But hoping for some better weeks. Cheer for
Yes.
Team Minnesota Ryan out there. Maybe we can take down a golden buzzer and shock the world next week. That would be really appreciated. But no, just having a lot of fun.
Great. So just to remind everyone, Jay and I will be back Thursday night to do our full recap. If you have any questions or comments about AGT at all, semifinals 1, semifinals 2, whatever, hit us up on our social medias at AGT Time Pod. I'm on Twitter at Cody L. Patterson. You're on there at Minnesota_Ryan. So hit us up if you got any questions. Thanks, Minnesota Ryan. Thanks for joining me this week.
Absolutely. Hopefully we can pull out some wins. We need it.
Absolutely. And everyone, have a great night.